Akutavach, this is Gemara in Kesubos, Daf Pei, all the learning for this month, the month of Elul, as we wind down the final few hours and days of this incredible month of Anila Daidi V'Daidi Li, has been sponsored as an incredible Zchos Aliyas Neshama, Le'Aster Reyzel Basar Meir. I'm sure looking down after all the hundreds of hours, thousands of hours of Torah that have been learned this past month, should bring Le'Aster Reyzel Basar Meir to a higher place in Gan Eden Shal Ma'ila. And we're holding on the Mishnah on the bottom of Ayin Tes Amid Beis. Says the Mishnah, continuing the theme of the obligations that a husband has towards his wife, or better yet, the usages that a husband has in his wife's properties. As we learned yesterday, when a woman inherits something, she always has to ensure that there is a pay rise for the husband to eat. So what happens? The husband has these pay rise, the husband is tending to the field, he spends money. Says the Mishnah, whether the husband spent a lot of money upkeeping the field, or whether he ate a little or a lot, or spent a little or a lot, says the Mishnah, that which he spent, that which he consumed. But let's say he put in cash, he redid the field, but he never was able to eat any of the peiros. Yishava kama haitzi v'yital. Then he is able to swear how much he spent, v'yital, and take money back for all his expenses. One small Rashi over here keys us in to a very important detail. The last Rashi in the Amid Rashi says, Im Girsha. Of course, if there's no divorce, then there's no question. He continues eating the produce of the field, and his wife gets the Karen. But now the question is, he put a lot of money into this field, and one day, divorce happens. So now he wants to go back to his ex-wife and say, listen, you get back the Karen, you get back the field itself, but I want to be reimbursed for all the money that I spent. So says the Mishnah, if he got nothing from the field, then he can demand reimbursement. But if not, then he does not. Says the says the Gemara. V'kama kimo. What does it mean? He ate a little bit. Even one mere little greguras, one small fig. As soon as he ate something, he got some benefit from this field. He had peiros in some form of the world. Then he is not able to demand payment. But the Gemara adds on another important detail. It doesn't just mean that he ate, it means he ate b'derech kavod, in a dignified manner. He didn't eat it in the field, plucking a grape off the vine, but rather he took it home, he brought it back to his house, and he ate it like a mensch. Says the Gemara, as we turn over to I pay Amar Alf, says the Gemara, Amar Rav Amri Bei Rav. They said in the yeshiva of Rav, afilu shigra de tamri, even a shigra de tami, even a cake of pressed dates. And of course, from the fact that it says afilu even, it seems like we're adding on a chiddush. So Bai Rabivi asks, Rabivi, chuvsa de tamri mai. What is the halacha if he ate a cake of squeezed out dates? Says the Gemara Teku. Just to point out, I said that the afilu seems like it's a kasha. Rashi, 3 lines from the top, points out what exactly is the extra chiddush of the afilu. Afilu, shigra de tamri. Rashi deals with what is the chiddush. But let's continue into the Gemara. A bit of a lengthy daf today, so let's continue. Says the Gemara, Loi achla derech kavod mai. One of the dinim in the Mishnah was that the husband has to eat it in a dignified manner. So asks the Gemara, what if he didn't? Loi achla derech kavod. What is the din now? Amar Ulas explains the Gemara, Pliba Trei Amarahi. There are 2 Amarayim that debate this point. Bimarav, Chad Amar Becheisar, V'chad Amar Bechedinar. The question simply is, if he did not eat in a dignified manner, how much does he have to eat? If he eats in a dignified manner, if he eats like a mensch at his table, we just learned that there is no shear. even the smallest bit. But now the question is, if he did not eat in a dignified manner, then how much is it? Explains the Gemara, we have a machlekes. We have a machlekes whether it's ke'iser or kediner. Amri Dayanim Pampedisa, Avid Rav Huda, the Dayanim, the judges of Pampedisa, said that Rav Huda had a story bechavili zemairos, and the story was with regard to a bundle of zemairos, a bundle of grapevines, and Rav Huda learned that this was enough, that this usage was enough. Rav Yudah Latame explains the Gemara that Rav Yudah Achla Arla Shviz Uklayma Reizeh Chazaka. Rav Yudah is of the opinion that says that if someone consumes the grapes of Arla Shviz or Kalayim, why? Obviously, grapevines are not something that human beings eat, but we're discussing here that he gives it to his animal, and that's obviously the Chiddush to learn that mere feeding to the animal is considered usage. So says the Gemara, so just like Rav Yudah holds it's going to be a good chazaka, similarly in our case, Rav Yudah is of the opinion that that's called getting benefit from the field. Someone spends money on the property of his wife, kitana, of a woman who's a minor, meaning he married a girl that was underage, the girl's father, brother, mother, someone married her off, and then she had a field. So of course, like all fields go to the husband, and the husband spent money keeping up that field. Says Rav Chisda, Rav Yaakov, Rav Chisda, Dami, it's as if he spent the money on the property of another person. Meaning, it's not like he spent the money on the property of his wife. Meaning that in the event of divorce, or better yet, if the girl who's a katana walks out of the marriage, the husband, yes, receives compensation. Even though we learned in the Mishnah Naman Aleph that any time the husband gets any form of benefit, then he does not receive compensation for that which he did. But says the Gemara today, says Rav Yaakov Amar Rav Chisda, if the girl was a katana, then the husband would, yes, indeed, receive compensation. My timer. Says the Gemara, why is this case of Katana any different? Explains the Gemara, they made a special takana. Why do they make a special takana? Because we don't want him to lose out. Because if he feels that it's not the heat on his own, we don't want she to lose. Because if the husband feels that, we know that halacha is halacha miyun, that a woman, if she's married as a Katana, she's let her walk out of the marriage anytime. So the husband's going to be nervous. This woman might walk out of the marriage, and he's not going to go and expend the right amount of cash on his wife's field. So to prevent the husband for not treating the wife's field properly, therefore we said he's always going to receive compensation for anything that he puts into the field. Says the Gemara further, we're 10 lines down, the first one line is Ahi, the two dots. Those women that 4 inches fell. And what happened? The guy came along, not any guy, your husband, and spent 600 zuz. And he spent the 600 zuz to bring home all of these items, meaning the transport cost was more than the items themselves. As he was going, as he was going, as he's traveling back with his 400 zuz bundle in which he spent 600 zuz to transport, he needed 1 extra zuz. So he dug into this pack of that he was transporting and he took 1 zuz from it. When he came back, even though they got divorced, says Rav Ami, game over. You do not get reimbursed. Why not? Seemingly because he got some benefit, like we learned in the Mishnah. If the husband gets any form of benefit, he doesn't get reimbursed. Over here, he got 1 zuz worth. Amarle Rabbanan, the Rabbanan said to Rav Ami, no. That's only if the husband gets a benefit from the produce, from that which the field produces. Over here, when the husband ate from the field, from the produce he's bringing back, was an actual principle. It's considered expensive. Therefore, it's a case of which he expended a lot of money, he did not get any benefit. He swears on that which he spent, and he gets reimbursed for everything. Continues the Gemara, in such a scenario, if the husband does not get any benefit, the husband swears on that which he spent, and he takes reimbursement. Amar Rav Asi Vushi Shevach Keneged Oisa. Says Rav Asi, a very important din. Not in every case is that which we said going to happen. Says Rav Asi, it's only going to be if there is some level of benefit to that which he did. If there is no benefit, then not. Only if there is some improvements to the field. Meaning, if someone puts in $1,000 to the field, and then the field doesn't improve at all, he's a terrible gardener, he blows $1,000, he doesn't get to come back and ask for that money. Actually, what I just said is a bit premature. I just wanted to bring out what the Gemara is talking about. The Gemara is going to ask, what exactly does this statement mean? So Amar Abaya, first Abaya explains, the following halacha is what Rav Asi meant. That if the benefit, the profits are more than the expenses, then if the profit is more, then he's allowed to take the haitzah even without a shvuah. And of course, we're talking about a case over here, if he did not get any benefit from the field, the Mishnah said he has to swear on that which he spent and then take the cash. So now Abaye is explaining what Rav Asi meant, that if the improvements of the field are greater than the expenses, he can take compensation without actually making a shvuah. Amalei Rava asks, 1 second, you should be wary. One could come to trick, because if he knows at any time the expenses are a drop less than the benefit of the field, he's always going to claim up to that amount so that he gets to get back without any issue. Ela Rava, says Rava, Shema Yisrael Yisrael Shavach, Ein Loi Ela Haitza Shir Shavach Ubishvu. Says Rava, no. What Rav Asi meant was the opposite. That if the Haitza was equal to the benefit, incorrect, one more time. If the Haitza, if the expenses were more than the benefit, like we started off in explaining, a guy puts $1,000 into the field and the field only profits $500. Then the only time he's able to get anything is as if he made a shvuah. Such a scenario, we're not going to let him collect anything without a shvuah. So Yibayi continues the Gemara, we're about 15 lines at the bottom. The first one line is Baal. Baal sha'ayir da'risin da'chtav. What is the halacha? If the husband hired sharecroppers, the husband himself didn't go into the field and work the field. The husband hired other people to work on his behalf. And then the same story ensued, that there is a divorce. But now instead of the husband asking for asking for his expenses, it's the sharecroppers asking. Says the Gemara, Adaite de Baal Malchis, Istalik le Baal, Istalikilu. Are the sharecroppers working on behalf of the husband? And therefore, just like the husband does not get paid because he has some level of benefit, so too, unfortunately, the sharecroppers get the same. They're working for the field. And the fields are still around, the fields gain, the fields benefit, and they're still fit for the sharecroppers. So the question is, do the sharecroppers receive compensation or not? Says the Gemara, Maskif lo Rava. Interesting, Maskif, usually Maskif is a question. Now here's a question on the question. Because Rava is asking on what is the Ahava Amina? What is the first tzad? Masla Rava Rav Chanan. My Shina asks Rava from Rav Chanan, Ayoyreid L'tayich Sadech Haverei. If someone, we're having highlighting issues over here. If someone, maybe we should just turn it off. If someone, there it is. If someone goes down into the friend of his field, and he plants it out to owner's permission, we evaluate, and he has the lower hand. So asks Rabbi Bar Rav Chanan, why is our case any different? Just like in that case, you get something. So to over here, the sharecroppers should always get something. Says the Gemara, no, Raya. Over there is no person else in the field. Whereas over here, there is someone else that would work. Meaning, even if the sharecroppers would not have worked in the field, the husband would have, and therefore they're not necessarily the same as the husband. Allah. So says the Gemara, what was the maskana? Amar Avuna Braid Rav Yeshua, 6 lines in the bottom. Chazinan says, if you use the name of Yeshua, we see Ibal Arisu is Ibal Sliglu. If the Baal is an Aris, so now we have an interesting dip. If the Baal himself was an Aris, then the halacha is the Aris, the sharecropper, has the same status of the Baal. Ibal Lava Arisu Arla Arise Kaima. Then then the sharecropper does not have the same status of the Baal, and then the sharecropper would indeed get compensation. That's the end of question number 1. 3 lines on the bottom says the Gemara Ba'ilu Baal Shamachai Kargu Lepeirez Mau. A similar question: what is the story if the husband sold the land for its produce? Meaning, what does the husband get in this field of the Nechsei Malog, like we've been discussing the last 2 days? The husband gets right to the peiros. So asks the Gemara, what if the husband sold those rights to someone else? Do we say whatever he has acquired he may sell, and therefore the sale is a good sale? You can sell anything. So he's not selling the actual land. He's not selling the actual produce. He's selling the rights to the produce like he himself had. Or maybe no. Or maybe the whole takana of Chazal was that the husband would get peiros. Why? Misham Revach says we turn over to Be'em Be'ez, but maybe they never allowed him to sell the rights to that produce. Says the Gemara, Yehuda Amar Bar Marimar Mishvei Rava Amar Masha also. Says Yehuda Amar Bar Marimar, what he did. The sale is valid. Rav Papa Amar Mishvei Rava Lo Yasov Lo Klum. He argues and he says he did nothing. Amar Abba Had Yehuda Amar Bar Marimar. The first opinion of Yehuda Amar Bar Marimar that said that the husband indeed sold the rights to the peiros. Comments. Rav Papa he never said this rule explicitly, he inferred it. There was a woman that brought into her marriage 2 maid servants. Azal Gavra, husband went, and he married another woman. And what did the husband do? The husband went and took one of the maid servants and gave it to the second wife. So Rava Savcha. So the first wife comes to Rava and she starts screaming, what's going on? I married this man and he takes my maidservant and gives it to the other wife. Loi ashkach va. Rava didn't listen to her. So man, the one who saw thought the reason why Rava didn't listen to her is because Rava held the husband has the rights. The husband has the rights to utilize these mates. So too he has the rights to sell the rights to utilize these maids to give it away to the other wife. But says the Gemara, and this is the Rav Papa commenting how he only heard it, did not hear it explicitly. No, the reason is because in that case the husband's going to profit. And since the husband indeed profits, therefore even if he gave the shivcha to the second wife, she's still working in the household, and therefore it was allowed. Meaning it's a different case over here. Because the whole purpose of a shivcha is to work for the husband, he's going to work for her even with being with the second wife. Says the Gemara about Shamachai Karka Lepeirais Layasa V'Loiklum. Comments the Gemara, we paskin, the husband cannot sell the rights of the peiros. My time Abaya Amar Mishul Chashin Shem Tachsef. Says Abaya, you know what the reason is? We're worried that maybe the other person is not going to be as invested into the field. The other person is going to let the field deteriorate. The part of the beauty in allowing the husband to take control of the wife's field is that the husband, it's husband and wife, so he's going to control the field. Rava Misham Ravcha Beisa. Says Rava, a similar reason. We're about to ask what the difference is. Says Rava, the reason is so the household is going to profit. My beinayu, ikabeinayu arad the mekar of the masa, inami balarasu. Says the Gemara, 3 practical differences between these 2 opinions of Abaya and Rava. Difference number 1 is where this land is close to the city. Therefore, Abai is concerned the land is going to deteriorate, is not found because it's close to the city. Baal Arisu, the husband is a sharecropper. In such a scenario, the husband himself is one working the field. And therefore, again, Abai is concerned of letting the field deteriorate will not apply. And number 3, Nami Zuzi V'Ka'avid Iska, the case takes the money and does business with it. And this case, Rava's reason does not apply because the household itself is not going to profit. And we continue today's share with the Mishnah. And actually, we're going to end today's share with this Mishnah, as this Mishnah is going to take us to the end of this year. Says the Mishnah. Shaymeres Yavam. And hopefully, this Mishnah is slightly familiar, as this Mishnah existed in the Gemara in Yavamas. The basic idea that we have to remind ourselves of the halacha is that any time a woman's husband dies without children, she is a potential yibum candidate for her ex-husband's brother. And the question is, what is her status in that interim time period when she's waiting for yibum? And what happens if lands falter at that time? So Shemeres Yavam Shaldan Achasim, as we've been learning until now, all the halachas of the lands falling after Erisin, before Nesuin, etc. So now what happens if land falls, if she gets an inheritance in this interim time period of being a Shemeres Yavam? So Moedim Beishami Beisil says the Mishnah, both Beishami Beisil agrees, she's able to sell the field, give it away without any problem. Mesa, what happens if she dies while awaiting Yibun? What's the status of her Ksuba with the properties that she brought into the marriage? Says the Gemara, says Beishamai, the two Yarshim split it. The husband and the father's inheritors split the woman's estate. Says Beisil, it's different. Her properties that she brought in, they stay in their chazaka. The ksuba goes to the husband and inheritors. So now the Mishnah continues with another case. What is the story? If the brother left over cash, you bought them land, as we've been saying until now, and then the husband, or in this case, the yavam, eats the produce of that field. If it's attached, how much is the worth of produce? How much is the land worth? Out the produce, with the excess, you buy land, and the yavam eats the fruit. It says, Zacha kadmahi yilach b'mkarga b'oichal peiros. Kansa, if they get married, arikish l'chol davar. Anytime yavam does yibum, what happens? They're full-fledged married. Belvad, there's one caveat. Should take subasa l'chlei by the risha, and the ksuba of the yavam is paid by the estate of his brother, the first husband. A husband should not tell his wife, your ksuba is sitting on the table for you. The ksuba, the locha is, all the husband's properties are achray, are guarantees for the ksuba. And certainly, person should not say, your ksuba is on the table. First case was by yibam, this is the second case by regular marriage. Gersha, if one gets divorced, she gets the ksuba. If they get remarried, the case of Gersh is talking about the second wife. And the Aleksuba, if they get remarried, pick it up in the Gemara in the next year.